there is another side of Ohio that rarely makes it onto postcards. It is not about crowded big cities and not about growing suburbs either. It is about small places that were once alive, then slowly lost everything. Behind quiet streets and old houses standing still, there are stories of industries collapsing, jobs disappearing, and generations choosing to leave, never to return. This is not just a list of small towns. It is a portrait of the America that was left behind. Some places are still holding on at the surface. Some are struggling under the weight of crime and poverty, and some are nearly gone, leaving behind only the shadow of what they once were. In Shawnee, this is no longer about a town that is struggling. It is about a town that has almost been abandoned by time itself. Shawnee feels nearly silent. This small village was once one of the most important coal mining centers in Ohio. Its streets were busy, businesses were alive, and the community grew quickly. But when the coal industry collapsed, everything went with it, slowly but surely. Today, the median household income is around $30,000 with very limited job opportunities. The population is small, and there is not much real economic activity left. Many old buildings are still standing, as if they are silent witnesses to a period of prosperity that ended long ago. Now we move to something more intense. Not just a small town that is struggling, but a city that is still active, yet filled with real pressure. In Lima, the problems feel more complex and harder to ignore. Lima was once an important industrial center in Northwest Ohio, with manufacturing and oil refining supporting the local economy. Even today, some of that activity remains. But the presence of industry does not automatically mean stability. The median household income is around $46,000, and economic inequality is visible in many parts of the city. What makes Lima stand out on this list is its high crime rate for a place of its size, including both violent and property crime. Next, we stop in Ironton, where the story of decline feels older and deeper. The name Ironton itself comes from the time when the iron and steel industries were the backbone of the city. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, this was a busy industrial center. Today, the median household income is around $47,000, with a fairly high poverty rate. Job opportunities are limited, and many residents have to depend on small sectors or work outside the city. Unlike New Boston, which feels left behind, Ironton carries a heavier tone. A city that was once important, then fell, and has been struggling ever since. The crime rate here is also fairly significant for a small city, especially in property crime and some violent cases. Along the Ohio River sits New Boston, where the problem is no longer just remoteness, but economic pressure that is felt directly in daily life. New Boston is located right next to Portsmouth, but that closeness has not automatically brought any benefit. In fact, this small town often feels left in its neighbor's shadow. With a median household income of only around $22,000 and a relatively high unemployment rate, many families here live with very limited economic options. There are not many industries that are truly growing. Most jobs come from small sectors, local services, or require people to look outside the town. That creates a cycle that is hard to break. Few jobs, little growth, and even fewer opportunities. Now we move to a very different kind of decline. Quieter, more remote, but no less heavy. In the heart of Appalachia, McArthur presents a picture of real isolation. As part of Vinton County, one of the poorest counties in Ohio, McArthur stands far from any major economic center. With a median household income around $49,000, job options here are very limited. There are not many major industries, there is no significant growth, and most economic activity depends on small local sectors or jobs outside the town. McArthur feels almost cut off from the outside world. Distance, access, and weak connectivity make it hard for opportunity to reach this place. This is not a town known for high crime, but its chronic limitations create challenges that can feel just as heavy. Now we enter a much harsher level, not just a small town left behind, but a city long known for a deeper crisis. In East Cleveland, the story of decline becomes something much more complex and much darker. Geographically, East Cleveland sits right next to Cleveland, but the difference feels like two completely different worlds. With a median household income of only around $22,000, it is one of the lowest in all of Ohio. Poverty here is not just a number, it shapes everyday reality. The most striking issue is the crime rate. For a city of its size, crime in East Cleveland is extremely high, both in violent and property categories. Many vacant buildings, aging infrastructure, and limited public services all strengthen the impression of a place that has been struggling for a long time without any clear recovery. After East Cleveland, which feels like a town slowly running out of energy, we arrive in Wellston, and here, the effects of decline feel a little more visible on the surface. Wellston was once a fairly active industrial center, especially during the manufacturing and railroad era. The town was even known for brick production and busy industrial activity. But like many small towns in southern Ohio, that foundation slowly fell apart. Wellston shows clearer signs of urban decay. Some parts of town reveal neglected buildings, small businesses that have closed, and economic activity that is no longer stable. Going deeper into Appalachia, and in Glouster, the atmosphere changes again. This time, it is not about a larger city under pressure, but a small community slowly left behind by time. Glouster once lived from the coal industry, much like Nelsonville, but its scale was smaller, and the impact of its fall feels deeper. With a median household income only around $38,000, it is one of the lowest on this list. Job opportunities are extremely limited, and many residents have to rely on informal work or leave the area. Not much truly moves here anymore. A few empty houses, closed local businesses, and quiet streets are common sights. The crime rate is not as high as in a city like Springfield, but heavy economic pressure creates more hidden social problems. In Springfield, this is no longer just a story about lost jobs, but a combination of urban decline and real social pressure. Springfield was once an important manufacturing center in Ohio, with industries that supported thousands of jobs. But like many cities in the Rust Belt, the decline of industry left a long-lasting impact. What makes Springfield stand out on this list is its fairly high crime rate for a place of its size, especially in property and violent crime. Some neighborhoods show clear urban decay, vacant houses, abandoned buildings, and economic activity that is uneven from one area to another. We head back down into Appalachia, and the atmosphere shifts immediately. In Nelsonville, decline does not feel subtle. It is visible on almost every corner of town. Nelsonville once lived off the coal industry. For decades, Mining was the center of both its economy and its identity, but when that industry collapsed, what remained was not just job loss, but a loss of direction. Its downtown is still standing, with historic buildings that give the town some character. There have even been small revitalization efforts, including a local arts community trying to bring the town back to life. But those efforts feel like they are pushing against a much larger current, because overall growth remains slow. After Nelsonville, which feels like a place holding still, we move in a slightly different direction, closer to Ohio's old industrial region, toward Piqua. Here, the problem is not just remoteness, but the fading remains of industrial prosperity. Piqua was once a fairly active manufacturing city, with factories and jobs that used to support local life. But like many Rust Belt communities, economic change slowly wore down that foundation. What begins to show here is a combination of mild urban decay and rising crime compared with smaller river towns. It is not extreme, but it is enough to change the mood of the city. Some areas feel left behind, with older buildings no longer being fully used. Following the Ohio River brings us to Gallipolis, a small town that at first glance seems a little more alive, but still never fully escapes the shadow of stagnation. There is something different here. Gallipolis has a small downtown that is still active and a unique history as a French settlement in the late 18th century. Even its name means City of the French. But behind that interesting identity, the economic reality is still difficult. The median household income is around $45,000, and even though that is better than in some of the earlier towns, job opportunities remain limited and not many major industries are still standing. Gallipolis also serves as a kind of small hub for the surrounding region, but not strongly enough to truly grow. Many residents still depend on small local sectors or jobs outside the town. A few miles along the Ohio River, Manchester feels even quieter, more empty, more limited, and farther removed from any real center of activity. At first glance, Manchester looks peaceful. The river moves calmly beside the town, traffic is almost never heavy, and life goes on without much disruption. But behind that calm, there is a reality that is hard to ignore. Opportunities here are extremely limited. With a median household income around $29,000, many residents live with narrow job options and often have to leave town just to earn a better living. Along the banks of the Ohio River, Ripley looks like a small town with a big story. On the surface, it feels quiet. Rows of old buildings, empty streets, and a rhythm of life that barely seems to change. But behind that calm, Ripley holds a sharp contrast between a heroic past and a stagnant present. The town once played an important role in the Underground Railroad, the secret network that helped enslaved people escape to freedom. The median household income is around $49,000, below the national average, with limited job opportunities inside the town itself. Many residents depend on work outside the area or on small local sectors. Crime is not as high as in the larger places on this list, but the lack of economic growth is the main issue. On the Ohio River, Belpre looks like a quiet small American town. Tidy streets, simple homes, and a slow pace of life. At first glance, nothing seems especially bad. But that is exactly where the problem lies. Belpre is not a town that collapsed, but a town that never truly grew. With a median household income around $54,000, Belpre is not among the poorest places in Ohio. Its crime rate is also relatively low compared with the other towns on this list. But job opportunities inside the town are very limited. Many residents end up commuting to Parkersburg, West Virginia, each day for work, which makes it hard for the local economy to grow on its own. What is interesting is that Belpre is one of the oldest settlements in the Northwest Territory, with a long history going back to the late 1700s.